Sup YouTube, it's Snorlax TCG here, and welcome back to another TCG video on my channel. On this channel you get tons of Pokemon TCG content, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And at any given point, if you enjoy the video, let me know by rocking the hell out of the like button. It is super effective, and I'm always super grateful if you would do so. Only takes one tiny second every time. So we're gonna be doing a Birmingham tier list. That's right, Birmingham is around the corner. I'm actually leaving Friday for the regionals. And I'm very excited. It's been a while since I've played the regionals. The last one was actually in Stuttgart. So we're going to be taking a look at the results. Actually, the popularity of decks in Stuttgart, going all the way into Toronto and now into Birmingham before we're doing this tier list. So there has been a couple of cards that are actually way more popular than before, and this is one of the last tournaments in the Surging Sparks meta. Surging Sparks was a meta that dragged on for way too long, and definitely with that winter break in combination, and also prismatic evolutions not doing too much to the format. Not a lot of crazy new archetypes are coming, but that's only going to be working out in February. So we're going to be focusing on Birmingham today. So if you are going to that tournament, or Rio de Janeiro and Brazil, I have good news for you. We're going to be focusing on those tournaments today. And before we dive into all of these decks, we're going to be taking a look at what happened in Stuttgart. Stuttgart was the last regionals I actually attended over in Germany. There was 1,662 players, Regidrago being the most popular deck in day one. Raging Bolt also still 10%. It does make sense because Raging Bolt is one of those decks that can deal with Regidrago VSTAR most easily. So we also have Charizard. Miraidon surprisingly was this, a lot of percentage over in Europe with an 8%, then Lost Box and Terrapagos. And the cool thing with that tournament is that there has been a deck that performed crazy. It was Cloth coming out of the woodworks in the day 2 conversion rate in Stuttgart. Being a very strong new deck that people are testing out here. Cloth combined with Terrapagos, having Oranguru V by its side as well. I do see that Terrapagos Noctowl also performed really well over in Stuttgart. Raging Bolt, dropped down in popularity, but if you take a look at what else was there, 6% Snorlax Block. I actually was one of those players actually playing Snorlax Block because I thought it was a really nice meta call, but I did not expect Cloth to do so well, so that's why we did not convert as we wanted, but it's fine. What else do we see here is that Miraidon really flopped. No Miraidons to be found, and that makes sense because Cloth was there. And other than that, also Lost Box had it really rough because of the high amount of Regidrago. So what happened in Toronto after that tournament? So we see here is that Regidrago and Charizard are the most popular decks, but there Goldengo comes out of nowhere with a 7% meta share. Raging Bolt finally dropping under the 10%, going to 6.55, which is really low. Cloth has established itself as a main archetype, having almost 6% meta share, and Miraidon was also still around. What happened to the day 2 conversion rate? Let's go. We see no more Miraidon. We see, of course, no more Raging Bolt. So those decks, those very aggro decks really flopped a little bit. We see Lugia coming back a little bit. Control, Snorlax Focus Control was really great. And Gardevoir also coming back into the format. And Iron Thorns Dracopult. A lot of people actually were playing that. Did not do all too well. But Regidrago VSTAR just dominated as usual together with Charizard. So those are the most popular decks from those last couple of tournaments. So let's take a look at my prediction for the tier list for Birmingham. Let's just put Charizard in tier A. I don't put it in tier S because there is a lot of things that Charizard has a rough time against. Think about Snorlax Block. If they know how to play, that could be really rough, even though you can rely on Dusknoirs and stuff. I have play tested that matchup before, and it seems very favorable for Snorlax Block. Also, Regidrago VSTAR has a great matchup against Charizard, so that's why it's still a very strong deck, don't get me wrong, because if you go Candy Charizard and have Dusknoir established as well on your second turn, you can pretty much beat anything. You also have Pidgeot EX with the Quick Surge, getting any card you want from the deck. You have a reliable one-price Pokemon in the form of Radiant Charizard. You can choose whether you want to go for Prime Catcher for more aggro-based options, or want to go for Unfair Stamp for protection and hand disruption. So Charizard, strong deck going into tier A for me. And Regidrago tier S. This is the deck to beat. We did see it in Stuttgart. We did see it in Toronto. It had a crazy good conversion rate. And if we take a look at the Toronto regionals, it was actually a Regidrago mirror match, establishing the archetype as one of the strongest decks we've seen in a format. Surging Sparks format was really great for Regidrago VSTAR. with the options of having cards introduced like the Hisuian Gudra V-Star, Giratina V-Star, Kyurem for spread, Dracopult EX, and now the new inclusion, Alolan Exeggutor. The deck pretty much has ways to deal with anything. The Alolan Exeggutor is also pretty good against Control, which I found to be a very great pick, to be honest. So that's why Regidrago VSTAR is just that hard to counter, because it comes back with all the variety options in the entire format. So that's the tier as deck for me. So now that we have established that, let's take a look at all the rest of the decks that have been performing quite well these days. Let's put Dracopult Iron Thorns in tier B. It did do a little bit. Some people were getting into the deck, but if we take a look at like the conversion rate, like we see here, there is 13% of the Toronto Regionals actually was Dracopult Iron Thorns. So if we take a look at the tournament itself in Toronto, where do you see those Dracopults? I have to scroll down quite a bit to find them. Could be me, but it seems like an overhyped deck. It seems nice. Like, oh, I'm gonna find it here. Okay, 41st. That's the highest placing one of those bunches. That's why I'm putting it in tier B. Dracopult itself is a very strong attacker. You use Iron Thorns to slow other decks down. Think about Teal Mask Ogerpons not being able to use Steel Dance, Squawkabilly EX not being able to get a huge hand advantage on the very first turn. It slows down a lot of decks, and it even helps you win against Lugia if you don't start with it. But the problem is that half of the time you start with something else like a Dreepy, sometimes a Toadschool, and then you still lose against Lugia. So I don't know how to feel about that deck. It's tier B for me. It has options. It can slow a lot of decks down, but sometimes the opponent has a great opening hand in the first place, and slowing it down is not strong enough. So putting it in the solid tier B slot. Moving forward, let's see what else we got. Goldango did really well, but I still would also put it in tier B. Goldango did well at Toronto, or did it do well? It was a high percent meta share with 7%. 152 players decided to pick up the Dangus and go for some crazy plays with the Cheese Man. And what do we see here? Where is the highest placing Goldango? Yeah, we have to scroll down quite a bit, 60 seconds. So not the way a deck should perform. So it's in the same category as Dracopult Iron Thorns. It was played at a high amount, but then flopped down a little bit. I could even put it down into tier C, but we're gonna have to wait with that because there's way more decks to talk about. Okay. Ancient Box going into tier C for me. It personally feels that it loses to Charizard and Regidrago VSTAR. Definitely if Regidrago VSTAR is able to use Gudra at its advantage or sometimes Dracopult and then Kyurem Swoop to finish the entire field. That's why I'm putting it in tier C. The highest, most popular decks out there can beat it quite easily if they play correctly. One Turo if you're playing Charizard could be enough to win yourself the Ancient Box matchup. So that's why we're putting it in tier C. What else are we going to be putting in tier C? Cerulege. For me, Cerulege is not a deck that is fitted right now. Currently, what you do with Cerulege, you play Carmine, you play Squawkabilly, you play Radiant Greninja, you play Pokestop, but on your very first turn, the only thing you have to do is pass. Because you are not able to dish out, you could just attack with the Charcadet, but it's not going to be that impactful for sure. So yeah, if you get in the Badu, which we're getting in Prismatic Evolutions, the deck becomes way better. You have something to do and you can slow the opponent down, which you really need to, otherwise you just lose. Moving forward, Gardevoir. Oh, I am going to be putting it... I would put it in tier A, between tier A and tier B. I'm gonna check at the last results of Toronto here. We do see a bunch of Gardevoirs doing pretty well, like a lot of them in top 16. 1, 2, 3 copies in top 16. So that could belong itself into tier A, but yeah, why not? Gardevoir is a solid deck. Let's just be honest. I put it in tier A. It has a great matchup spread. You have to be thinking about the fact you can still beat Regidrago. There are ways where you can be playing TM Evo. You can be playing Robska. You can be playing the Turbo Bill with Rare Candy. And if you're faster with Monkey Dory, you can win against Regidrago. So Gardevoir is still a great deck. I'll put it in tier A for this tournament. Then, continuing on, Lugia Archeops is also a solid tier A deck. It actually didn't do too well in the last couple of tournaments. It wasn't all too popular, but if we take a look at conversion rate wise, there was one of them, Kieran Farah, which actually is a very known Lugia player, getting 9th place, getting into that asymmetrical cut. So Lugia here is a very strong archetype. Still, you have a lot of options. You can be going for Iron Hands, you can be playing a high amount of Cinccino, you can be playing a lower amount of Cinccino and adding in stuff like Weirdeer V. It has a lot of options, and it is also one of the decks that does have a reasonable time against Regidrago. That's why it's still tier A. Then, continuing on, Snorlax Block. I've still put Snorlax Block in tier B because people can beat it. And definitely with Alolan Executor creeping into decks like Regidrago, yeah, they can have an answer against Mimikyu. So you might think, oh, I'm going to be discarding Canceling Cologne from the Regidrago player. They're going to have a hard time to just deal with Mimikyu. Definitely when it has a Mist Energy, so Mew EX can also not copy-paste Mimikyu. And out of nowhere, Alolan Executor just ruins your day if you cannot find your Mist Energy quickly enough. That's why it belongs in tier B. And I also put Pidgeot Control into that tier B category for this tournament. Although it could have great options to just beat everything, it all comes down to the high variety in the meta and if Pidgeot Control can deal with that. Even though you only need a 5-1 score to advance to day 2, most likely, depends on how many players there are going to be, but I think so. That means that Pidgeot Control could actually do reasonably well. We did see a Pidgeot Control going all the way into 6th place in Toronto, so it is definitely a deck that if you don't know how to play against it, you will lose against. Then Raging Bolt. I'll also put that in tier B, maybe in the higher end of tier B. The reason is that Regidrago VSTAR is really, really popular. And if you're one of those persons that just get 4 Regidrago V-Stars in a row, you're going to have a great time. The problem is you're going to have a bad time against Gardevoir, and you might also have a bad time against Charizard. So there are definitely ways you can counteract with that. You can be playing Lost Vacuum for Gardevoir. You can be playing a Briar for the Charizard matchup. So the Raging Bolt is still a strong deck, and it's the only deck that is going to be keeping Regidrago V-Star in check. So if all the people decide not to play Raging Bolt, then Regidrago V-Star wins automatically, most of the time. Archelodon, also put that in tier C. Is that actually a solid pick right now? I have no idea. I think it's way better in the next format because it actually won a Champions League over in Osaka. I'll just still put it in tier C. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Archelodon. Is it, again, definitely I'll just put it in tier B, right? And then I'll lower down Goldango to tier C. Is that harsh? Is that good? What do we do with Goldango? Like Goldango, it didn't perform. Maybe I'll put Dragapult Iron Thorns into that tier C category. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. Yeah, it didn't do all that well. Goldango also didn't do too well, but there's a lot of hype behind the Goldango, as we saw in the Toronto Regionals. And I personally feel like if I had to pick a deck like that could just surprise people, is Goldango, not Dragapult Iron Thorns. Put that in tier C, put this one in tier B. Archelodon in tier B as well. It hits all the bench hitters like Teal Mask, Ogerpons, Rotoms, Luminions, Quackabilities. 220 is a solid number, and if you get damage, you can even go for the Relicanth to just prey upon a higher HP Pokemon. Claw of Tropicos, also going into that tier B category, next to Raging Bolt for that tournament. It did really well in Stuttgart, then it flopped a little bit. Did it flop? Let's check out Toronto. There are definitely a couple of them in top 16, so it's still around solid tier B deck. Roaring Moon. I feel like a Roaring Moon is tier C, unfortunately. I'm a very huge believer of Roaring Moon, but ever since crucial cards like Cross Switchers went away, where you can reliably gust, you have to rely on Pokemon Catcher. Lugia's playing Mist Energy, which is annoying. Charizard just beats you. Gardevoir beats you. Regidrago VSTAR can beat you if they just focus on their Ogerpons, and if they promote Clefine you with your Pokemon Catchers and all that. So, nah, tier C for me. It has a hard time against top decks. Lost Box, also tier C for me. I feel personally that Lost Box has met its match with Regidrago VSTAR being that popular. You might think, oh, We are gonna be playing 2 copies of Manaphy. Are you really going to slap down all those low HP Pokemon so they can just win without even using Kyurem? Like, they could just Dragapult you out of existence, right? And yeah, sometimes one of your Manaphys is prized, they use Cologne, it's all over. Now, Lost Box has a rough time against Regidrago, it's always that way. Can you find double Manaphy in time before they like use research, like Squawkabilly into research, into Legacy Star to find Cologne in time? That's like turn 2. You have to have 2 Manaphys on board by turn 2. Otherwise, you just lose, and some of these decks might have 1 prize, and that's why things go wrong horribly. So, I don't even know if we'll put a deck in tier D. Maybe I'll be putting Cerulege there together with Roaring Moon. Because for this tournament, I feel like those decks are just not gonna cut it. Yeah, for me, that seems fine. Those decks are not gonna cut it for this tournament. I could be proven wrong. What's the highest? Roaring Moon. Yeah, I have to scroll down quite a ridiculous amount. This is even Ancient Box, so... classic Roaring Moon, like, yeah, here it is. Roaring Moon, top 128 is the best, like 92nd, so it makes sense. I'll put this here. Where is the highest amount of Cerulege? I have to scroll down way too much. I'm not gonna... Cerulege is also tier D. Miraidon, where do we put Miraidon? Do we put it in tier B? Or tier... Nah. Personally, Miraidon can win against Regidrago, but all these Miraidon decks are playing the Secret Box build, and I'm a bigger fan of playing Prime Catcher with Miraidon. I think if you want to be playing a Turbo Aggro deck to beat Regidrago, Miraidon is not the deck. I think Raging Bolt is better because Raging Bolt has an easier time against Charizard. Even though you can like blow up Magneton and maybe like Iron Hands twice, it's still in a rough position. And you might think, oh, you beat Gardevoir, but I've seen a lot of situations where you just unfair stamp them and then still win because you trap something on Screen Tail. So I don't know how to feel about Miraidon. Maybe I am underselling Miraidon. Let's take a look at Miraidon in Toronto here. Where is the highest placing Miraidon? Yeah, where is it? Yeah, we have to go down quite a bit, don't we? Yeah, that's quite sad. For a deck, Miraidon, was it actually on the... yeah, Toronto had about 6% Miraidon. And if I'm actually taking a look at all of these decks, the highest place in Miraidon is way down. Am I overseeing something? Is it that down? What destroyed Miraidon? Even Archilodon did better than that. Highest place in Miraidon. What happened to these Miraidons? Okay. Okay, I found a Miraidon here. At 156th. Is it really? Okay. Maybe I'm overseeing something, but yeah. Tier C for me, it's a strong deck, but has trouble against well-playing Regidrago / Charizard players. And if you're competing against Raging Bolt, you have 240 HP, which makes it way more difficult for you to get knockouts. Definitely playing that Secret Box build, even though you can go wide on your board to just go with Raikou and all that. Sometimes even your generators whiff. You have a tough time against Archilodon. You have a tough time against Raging Bolt, against... You win against Lugia, that's at least something you could do, and sometimes you even lose against Lugia, so it's not that close than you might think. And then some Dusknoir builds. Okay, what do we do with these guys? I think, if I'm 100% being honest, I will put Archilodon down to tier C, and I will add Terapagos Dusknoir into that tier B category. It's a strong deck. I've seen a lot of skillful players navigating that to some great success. And it has options. When it goes first, it's the scariest deck you could be up against because Noctowl with that ability can get anything you want. Jewel Seeker can get yourself Prime Catcher in a combo with something else you might want. And if they get established Pidgeot EX, you cannot even disrupt them. They could have a Bouffalant build with some healing capabilities. It's a very strong deck, and for me, it's tier B. And Palkia Dusknoir, I also put it in tier B. Maybe on this position. It's not the strongest deck out there, but as mentioned, with Squawkabilly capabilities and the turn 2 Radiant Greninja going crazy, you can just bop your Dusknoir, knock out Manaphy, and then go for Radiant Greninja to swoop the opponent's entire field. And that can happen as soon as the second turn. Assuming you went first, it's going to be very great for you. So that's probably where I'll be putting my tier list for now. These are actually, maybe like Miraidon's a little bit better than Archilodon, but for most of it, this is how I feel. Like, if you're going to a tournament and you pick one of these top 4 decks here, I think you will be doing great. Lugia might also be like tier B, like a lot of people are saying Lugia is not that great anymore. but they're also saying that about Gardevoir. And for me, like, these decks have just proven time and time again that they are top decks in the world of the Pokemon TCG currently before rotation. After rotation, we're gonna have a whole different story where a lot of decks will rotate out of the format. But this is how I personally feel about Birmingham. Just note, like, there could be a random Roaring Moon, there could be a random Lost Box converting really well and actually winning a tournament. But this is how I personally feel. If I would be going, which I am going, I'll definitely be taking at least tier B and above. If you're taking any of the decks from tier B and above, you're probably going to be doing pretty okay. Definitely if you're just wanting to get some more championship points, because at the end of the day, that's what counts, I suppose. For other people, there might be some cash prizes that could also be something you want to go for, or just having fun, and you're going to be winning some more booster packs. I just hope we're getting Surging Sparks packs this time around, because last time we've gotten like I think it was it Stellar Crown. It was kind of annoying that we got older booster boxes even though we did well at tournaments, but that's sometimes when the supply does not meet demand, I suppose. But some judges did get that those Surging Sparks decks, so that's a debate for a whole different day. But this is my current tier list. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about this tier list. Would you change anything? Which deck should you put higher or lower up on the list? And let's do a prediction. Which deck will win the Birmingham Regionals? Place your bets down below in the comment section. Let's get a discussion started, because this is going to be one of the last tournaments for the Surging Sparks meta. And also Rio de Janeiro, if you're going to Brazil, that's also going to be applicable for you. So train with the tier B and above decks and you're going to be doing great. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Thanks again for joining today. Check out the sponsors as well. Links down below for some reduction. Stock up on some Dragon Shield product for the new year, so you're good to go. Sleeves, binders, deck boxes, you can get 5% off on literally everything on the website. Use the coupon ZAPBLUES5 and get 5% off. Link down below. TC Evolutions for your damage counters, ability tokens, V-Star markers, 10% off using the coupon ZAPBLUESTCG. PotownStore.com for your TCG Live code card needs with instant email delivery. Stock up on your account today and get 5% off your order. And there is also cardmarket.com for European players, where you're able to buy and sell cards to people all across Europe. Use the referral name ZAPBLUESTCG, and you're going to help out the channel tremendously. So with that being said, Birmingham/Rio de Janeiro is happening this weekend. If you're going there, be sure to say hi. I don't bite. Let's take some pictures together. Let's have a great time. And most importantly, just try and enjoy the experience, because regionals are always so much fun. Have yourself a good one, folks, and I'll see you there. Peace.